Hi, this is Brent, and today we're going to talk about the Red Queen. But first, I want to mention two things. First is my website, alienstudio.com. If you haven't been to it yet, you can check it out. Offering everything from 3D design, event rendering, game production. So check it out if you can. And also, I'm starting a new, not new channel, but some may have seen it yesterday. A new line of videos, the Soho editions. That may okay. It's truly needed actually, because when I do studio work, it's a lot more relaxing. And for those who've been following this channel for the few months, or my channel's only been up for like a year, right? But also I'm not a YouTuber either. So for context, my channel is for the presentation of my work, in the hopes that it can inspire others or even help others in one way or another if they're trying to figure out how to do something. I don't do tutorials anymore like that, not as far as just putting up on YouTube. But I put this channel up about, I think it was a year and a half ago, to start to archive visually some of the developments I was doing research-wise, as well as some little game, for those who love sim racing, but primarily just to try to chronicle some of the 3D research that I was doing. And then it started to become like the hub for everything Wild Walker, right? But it's not a traditional YouTube site or anything like that. So that's why, that's you don't see me pushing it the way that I guess it would be a normal channel would be pushed. Also, so the Soho edition allows me to be able to talk about a lot of the studio related stuff that I've experienced over the years, but also some cool stuff. So it's not just about history. No, it's about doing contemporary stuff right now, or doing something cool right now. Matter of fact, that's exactly how I like to think of it. Just doing something cool right now. Sometimes you'll hear some words of wisdom. Sometimes you'll hear some funny as heck stuff come out of me. Because when I do studio work, that's my soul, basically, just emitting like that. And I've always wanted an opportunity to be able to record it and for others to see it. When we've now become, just real fast on this, we've become so online, which is, I'm not knocking it, right? We've become so online that, let's say for someone who's a studio artist, they may feel a little bit out of touch a little bit, because before everything went online, it was all about being at somebody's studio, or being in, whether you're a professor or being in a classroom, or at somebody's studio, or in that type of social gathering, right? And it was always so cool. So I feel very fortunate. I feel, and I think it's great that I've been able to work out how to get this all recorded up and presented properly for you guys. So Soho editions, as I said before in the other video, you may want to get something. You may want to grab a glass of something relaxing, kick your heels up or something like that, and because it's kind of like a Bob Ross kind of a moment sometime, with the happy trees. So either way, the Soho edition, I think, is it rounds out all the presentations that I do from. So we have the SDF, we got the heavy line, and the Soho edition, which will bring in the studio. I don't have my own physical photo studio, so I can't bring in my I can't do those. But there's nothing better than the Soho edition, I tell you that right now. Okay, so once again, check out the website, alienstudio.com, and maybe you'll see something you like. And let's get to talking about the Red Queen. Okay, here we have the Red Queen. Now, the Red Queen was actually a series of, like Andromeda, like the Andromeda piece that a lot of people seem to like, was actually a part of the Red Queen series. So Andromeda originally, with her red draping around her body and stuff like that, was originally a part of this dual set. So we have Red Queen I believe Andromeda was Red Queen 2. So this would be Red Queen 1 and Red Queen 2. It's a whole plot storyline. Let me just throw some color on it real fast. A whole storyline within the Wild Walker world with the dueling Red Queens. One of the things to be noted about this Red Queen is, yes, of course, you still see I have the, we can call it the conchial postural. I can never pronounce it right. Pose. I bend it further and call it the baby doll. So that's why I call it the baby doll, because I like to have the back arching a little bit more too, not just the shoulders countering, shoulders countering the hips. So conchial postural, if I'm saying it right, would be, okay, so like yeah, it'd be like shoulders are here, hips are there, right? Which lends to this type of a structure, okay? Right, all depending upon what the person is doing, right? That's what that is, right? The baby doll goes further and involves the back as well. So the baby doll says, "Hey, we're really like this." And so so I combine both this with the baby doll, where the back arching, and then that's where I call it the baby doll. That's just a little heads up. Let's take a look at her though. She's this one is very dark. She's a very dark one. Literally. So you can see the amount of black involved in this piece. Right? So as you can see in the making of it, it really starts with so much of that, right? And so little, just giving hints of where the light is coming from, but it's the shadow that holds the whole, or the black that holds the whole entire thing off. Basically, just simply gesturing in for like her scarf / capish type piece. Slight gesture in for a lot of things that are happening in the shadow. And then once again, just getting that hip to bend, right? Because then regardless of her facial structure, right? Once I get that back arching like that, all of a sudden it starts to take on the feminine, and then put the hips high, it takes on that femininity. Even though she doesn't, she's the opposite of aesthetically. She's the opposite of the other Red Queen, which is Andromeda. She's the opposite of Andromeda. Andromeda is very curvy, very well designed as far as her feminine qualities, while this Red Queen is bare bones. She's actually, as a matter of fact, she's actually more ruthless in some ways than Andromeda. But she's bare bones, and even her steed that she rides on is bare bones, right? So I want to have that feeling continue on. That was the thought. That was the intuitive, let's say, wave that I was riding when I did this piece. Once again, a lot of it happens extremely fast. Also, to be noted is the actual, like, we talk about gesture line and stuff like that, right? So we see in her, we have boom, boom, and then like that, right? But then it does continue down where it goes like this, and then the power comes back out again. So the cocking of how the feet are positioned and how the legs are positioned is directly in relationship to how I felt how she was balancing on top of the form, right? So the two were working hand in hand. It wasn't like, oh, I built this one first and built that one second. Matter of fact, in the time lapse, you can see I start off with even more feminine version of her, and then I really begin to just block her and made her very blocky in relationship to all the other line work that I was starting to throw down. Okay, let's just pull up one more layer. Okay, this is not a long one today. So just real fast, we can see We can zoom in on this one so we can see her structure, right? If her pelvis was to go in, if we continued into the form, right? I was going with my pen. I should be going with my pencil. Okay. Everything else becomes, well, not, it wasn't necessarily simple, but everything else has to work along with it. When I'm working on it, my eyes see this. That's what my eyes see when I'm working on it. And I'm thinking, balancing it out. Okay. Right. But some of the most, I think it's one of the more moody pieces or more powerful pieces. I like it a lot. But also it took the least amount of time compared to some of the other ones, right? So once again, here is the Red Queen.